Hello and welcome to Unwatchables, the film podcast that dares to ask, how can that be profitable for Frito-Lay? I am Marc Dottavio.
I'm Seth Troyer.
And today we are joined by Frank Ritz for what Freud would call our Eros and Thanatos episode, two films that blur that shaky line between sex and death. We'll be discussing Lynne Stopkewich's 1996 necrophiliac romance, Kissed, and Hélène Cattet and Bruno Forzani's 2009 avant-garde giallo, Amer. And here to help us get psychoanalytic is Frank Ritz. You can find Frank's reviews on Letterboxd. He is also a frequent guest on our good friend Amy Henserling's podcast, Watch This List. Frank, how many of those have you done so far?
Oh my God. I actually have
You
no
were one of the
idea.
first ones, right?
I was the very first one.
Whoa.
And for a while, I was her guinea pig for each new series, but that dropped off along the way. And that's fair, get some new faces on the pod. Nobody wants to see me 100 times other than me. But I think
Escape
I've been
from
on
the lab.
7 or 8, maybe? I gotta be
You're
close
practically,
to 10.
You're like her Seth. You're practically a co-host.
I tell Amy all the time I
Or maybe
should
her
be
Marc,
on every
her Marc.
episode.
Right.
It's good to be a Seth.
I agree.
Cool. Well, it's nice to cross over and finally have you on here.
Yeah.
We got some real fun ones here lined up.
I think so. And I appreciate you guys having me on. It's super cool. Fun.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really enjoy the show.
So I am curious as to what gave you this idea, gave you the idea for pairing them, which you don't necessarily have to say what they have in common until we get to both of the movies. But especially with Kissed, this was a movie that was not even that easy to find. So
Yeah.
I am curious how you even came across that movie, and that in addition to what made you want to maybe pair that with Amer.
Are you trying to tell us something? Are you okay?
Yeah, I said to my partner after we agreed in this and I realized I had to watch these and talk about these, I was like, I think I made a mistake. I don't think I should have picked these. Why did I do this? I mean, I like I'm fond of these films to whatever degree, but I don't know what really drove it. I was trying to think about this. I really can't remember how I even discovered Kissed in the first place, but I watched it in 2022 and was instantly mesmerized by it. And when we were talking about doing the show, Seth provided a very actually it wasn't too long, but he provided a list of like options that he's like, how do you feel about any of these? And me being the way I am, I gave a way too detailed answer for every single one. And even I realized by the end of it, I was like, there's something special about Kissed that I think would fit very well into the ethos of Unwatchables, like probably more than most of the other ones that were calling to me, like Bresson, like love Bresson, of course, but like Kissed feels very in the pocket of
God,
of
and on
what
so
an
many
Unwatchable
levels.
is.
I remember Amy was the one who told me about it. She must have found out about it through you, maybe, I assume. Doesn't seem like a Amy movie necessarily, but Amy's full of surprises.
Amy is full of surprises.
And no, it's been, ever since I heard about it, I was like so high on my list, because even from the get-go, you read the plot, the little plot tag line on Wikipedia, and you keep looking at the poster and the title Kissed, and you're just wait. Are they the same thing? Is it? And you're trying to formulate what this movie must be like. It's like,
right,
because it is a necrophiliac romance of self-discovery, a young woman's self-discovery, and you just are either like, this is going to be just the most skin-crawling, horrifying Lars von Trier in time, or it looks like it might be kind of sweet.
And then surprise, surprise, it's the latter, honestly. I think, at least.
We must be. I think Seth and I are giving totally different lists now by this point to our guests too. Because
I definitely censor the ones I don't feel like doing.
And I put them in big bold letters.
Yep,
that's awesome.
One is gonna bum Seth out.
because I had never
And
even heard of this movie. And, I rarely get to go into a film, even for this podcast, like totally blind, even if it's one that I haven't seen. Usually I have some kind of idea about it. And this
Right.
one really felt like a blank slate, which
Buried,
is always a
no
fun
pun intended.
experience. I rarely get to have with anything that I watch.
Yeah, that is such rarefied air that I know most cinephiles, or whatever you want to call them, cling on to, like, because it's so hard to experience things in a vacuum at this point. So that is super special. And I really wish I could give credit. I'm certain it was just some person I follow on Letterboxd logged it, clicked it one day and was like, well, what the hell is this? The same, like, allure in some way, like you were describing, Seth, of just like, I have to know what's going on with this. Like, what are you saying to me?
Yeah, so this should be exciting then for people listening too, who also don't know about this film. Just from the description, there's ways to obtain it that we don't have to go into,
Sure.
that anyone could use to find.
I think I bought it on Amazon Prime a few years ago. I don't know if it's still there, but I was still able to watch it. So that's something.
Fedupmovies.com.
Yeah.
Or no, that one sucked. That link sucked because I was trying to watch it again, and that link was pretty bad. But I think I found another one.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what that was.
Out there on the high seas. Honestly, Amer is also kind of hard to find too. I also didn't mean to pick two hard to find films.
They're worth it though.
Yeah, that's another thing they have in common. So, let's dive right into Kissed then, which is from 1996 from the Canadian director Lynne Stopkewich. This was her debut film, which apparently actually began as her thesis film at the University of British Columbia. So it's rather low budget, although it looks pretty good for a low budget film. And it is based on a short story called We So Seldom Look on Love by Barbara Gowdy, which itself is based on the true case. This is not quite a based on a true story film, but it's definitely an inspired by one.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun reading about the case of Karen Greenlee in Apprentice Embalmer, just like the protagonist of Kissed. Who stole a hearse and was arrested days later, holed up in a motel having sex with the body of the young man who was in the corpse or in the hearse. And, obviously the media latched onto that a little bit. Apparently there's like a book or an long interview or something with her. And this was the art that has come out of this case.
Almost in the realm of the senses in a way, which is also like,
oh, sure,
whoever was behind either of those movies, like this one and that one, I think was like more just they heard this story, and rather than being like aghast, they were like, how did we get here though? Like, how did any of this transpire?
Record scratch. You're probably wondering how I got here.
I mean, I honestly, Kiss almost opens like that. You don't really know it until you see the whole picture, but it kind of starts with the end, and then she's like, let me walk you through every step of my life that got me to this moment. Which is like honestly one of my favorite parts of the movie. Like, I feel like it's so logical through character of just like, well, of course I'm this way, so now I must do this. And now that I've done this, well, of course I must try kissing the corpse. I don't know. And then, well, now that I did that, what's next?
Yeah, it's burrowing into this like absolutely unknowable place. Like, sure, like there's lots of taboos and like grotesqueries that have been explored quite a bit. This is still one of them. Like, it's not serial killers. This is like one step a little further that we just don't see very often. So it is hard to look away in a way of just like, now, how is this all? Where is this all going? So you are kind of ensnared in this way. But my favorite part is that, and it also sort of not candy coats it, but does make it like so enjoyable. Is it's like very 90s, like almost twee indie movie feeling to it. Like the soundtrack like is mostly like jangly Cranberries sounding songs. You have to keep on reminding yourself that this girl and her meet cute are They are talking about how she likes to fuck corpses.
Yeah, like that
And
that
yeah,
empathetic
it just
edge
swirls.
definitely lends itself greatly to its uniqueness. Like that 90s thing, like something I noticed on this rewatch particularly, I think it's like a barrage of images that all feel very familiar. Like the one that stood out the most is after she finally tells this guy, her deep dark secret, and it's the first person she's told that she's a necrophiliac. She like is listening to records in her home, and she has the headphones on, and she's perfectly laid back, arms behind the head, records perfectly placed around her head. I'm like, how many times have we seen
Is
that
this Garden
exact
State?
image?
Like,
Yeah, but then it's in this like productively Lynchian way of like you're commenting on this darkness under a very clean surface. And that really popped this time, how much the images evoked so many other teen coming of age films like seamlessly.
This is like Cameron Crowe's necrophiliac movie.
Yeah, truthfully.
Which is kind of funny. Like the soundtrack is so much, it's kind of like a budget 90s alt rock soundtrack where every song kind of sounds like a song or an artist you might know, but was somebody that no one's ever heard of. It's probably
Totally.
cheap, for them to use it.
yeah, it's like their friends'
Absolutely.
bands. Yeah.
So yeah, this whole vibe is what makes this movie stand out, because this is not the first necrophiliac movie we've covered.
I checked to make sure you did necromantic before
Yes,
I
we
suggested
did.
Amer.
Oh yeah.
And the extent to which this is the total opposite of that movie is what's interesting about it, because this never feels to me like it's trying to shock or even be that edgy.
Yeah, no
No.
gallows humor really.
Mhm.
It's
Even-
not humorless, which is, I think,
Yeah.
important. But right, it's never like laughing at her or Sandra, the character that Molly Parker plays. It's never laughing at her or her proclivities. It just like naturally leads to a couple funny moments with like the embalmer during that scene. I laughed a couple times. His matter of factness,
Mhm.
teaching her how to do that. It's definitely, it's like, it's weirdly so sincere.
Yeah,
And
the tone here is wistful and lyrical. Almost mystical sometimes.
Mhm.
And I do feel like this movie is kind of divided into two different movies almost. And the first part of it is kind of like a coming of age story. Where again, there almost doesn't seem to be even anything sexual about what she's doing. She's very explicit about this being an act of spiritual connection somehow. Or she calls it crossing over. And
Yeah, crossing
you're kind of
over.
introduced to her as a child, and she's already wrapping up little dead animals and rubbing them on her body and doing these rituals where she buries them. So there is kind of a sense of, as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a necrophiliac.
Yes.
It definitely prescribes to, like you said, the like Freudian ideas of we can trace all of our inner desires and selves to some point in our childhood, right? Which is way too simplistic when you're applying it to everyone. But then, like, sometimes maybe it is that simple. I don't know. Who's to say? But I like that we follow this person's journey literally from childhood, like you said, through her early adulthood, seeing how these things start so innocuous. Like, it seems like she just has a strong connection to the dead in general and wants to provide comfort, and it is like this religious thing to her as a child, and we see that, and then it grows into something different as she becomes closer to these subjects. I'd say once it transfers from animals to humans, where that leap has to take us as I don't know, as that sexuality is also starting to grow. Because there's that scene early on when she's with her friend, and she, they undress together, and they're like so free and flowing, and there's like, I know it's like the innocence of childhood, but you can imagine the version where it's like, oh, Sandra's gonna discover she has like lesbian desires or something, right? But she
Mhm.
reveals too much of herself and it scares the friend away. So like there's this sudden splitting moment where now she has to feel shame and hide this inner feeling, and all these like weird emotions get intertwined, and then the next 60 minutes is just watching that unfurl in a very empathetic, warm, wistful way.
Yeah, I read an interview with the director shortly after it came out. She was interviewed, and of course they have to ask like, so again, what's going on? Did you is any, because it feels so empathetic, so
Hmm.
personal. Of course, she just says like she enjoyed the story, and I believe her, and that they're, you know, um, but it does just feel so empathetic to the point where, yeah, like bringing up like lesbian desires and stuff, it really does feel like at least up until the end where it gets like really wild, like it gets um so sweet, and it feels like a coming out of the closet movie. And has
Hmm.
that whole arc that feels that way, of her like being belittled and not fitting in, and then finally finding someone who works with her and everything. And it almost feels like it's from this other place where like there was a movement of young necrophiliacs that wanted their indie movies to speak to them or something. Um,
Sure.
but it also doesn't feel like it is necessarily trying to show it as it is necessarily. It's trying to show it because there's never like a zoom out moment. Like these scenes that you, as wondering if you want to watch this or not, like these scenes where she has sex with the dead bodies, they are not what your worst nightmares might be. They don't really
Hmm.
show you a lot. She just kind of crawls on top of it, and it is treated with such mystical reverence. You're supposed to be feeling what she's feeling, which is like usually she crawls onto it and she takes off her clothes, and then it goes to white, which she
Yeah.
describes as touching this other side. Um,
It's
which only
strangely,
tickles, yeah, like
it's
sort of
almost,
our end
it
as
feels
being
almost
this like
too
unknowable thing.
demure at times, um, to me. Like the first time where it seems to be building up to like a very big moment, it kind of just cuts right away to the next scene.
Yeah.
It actually does something similar when she's having sex with a living human for the first time too. And I was like,
Mhm.
no, 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 give us a little bit like more. You don't have to get, gross or explicit or crazy with it. But there were some times where it was strangely seemed to kind of just be skipping over that part, like it wasn't important. Um, but I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing that just occurred to me now is, you think this would be a little harder to swallow if this was a male character having sex
Mm.
with young female corpses? Uh,
Yeah.
Yes.
Almost
it would be
certainly,
hard not
probably.
to.
Uh-huh.
But
That's interesting. I hadn't even considered that. And
yeah.
what does that say about our prejudices or something? Where
And what
I'm
does it
just
say
like,
about us being an audience that is more readily like, "Aw," and then
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
"Wait, no, no."
Yeah, because
I
I don't know. It seems like this isn't a movie that actually gets down to like exploring what an actual person who has sex with dead bodies would be thinking or going through, right? It's
It
almost
feels like a perfect like scenario that they would dream
mm,
that they could pull off in a
right.
way.
right,
Like,
right.
because she meets somebody like the first cute guy that she actually gets a good conversation with, like he accepts her immediately because he's
And
just like this kind of, I don't, and you're also like wondering about him. That's also part of the drama. You're like, what is this guy who just is immediately like, okay, yeah, absolutely.
it definitely feels like a story kind of about well, obviously, like, romantic couples and, of course, fetishes, and like how those two can interlink with each other. But it also feels very much like obsession to me is an important part, because like she kind of has this obsession with the dead, which grows and grows and grows. And then when she has this meet cute with this other fellow weirdo, like he becomes obsessed with her, though. And so now there is this like weird chain of imbalance, because like she has her vocation that is particular to her, but then his vocation is her. And in that sense, it kind of reminds me in a very strange way of things like Phantom Thread or Duke of Burgundy, where I'm like,
you're speaking my language now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they all float in the same zone to me. Something I meant to say way earlier. Apologies. I'm very drawn to movies that are examining the concepts of what romance is in an extreme way. And I honestly think, like, of course, Duke of Burgundy falls under that. Phantom Thread a little less so, but it's not far. But like, where you can explore the metaphors and ideas of like what true love is, what is commitment, what is giving yourself to someone. And like the more extreme you kind of push the scenario, like the more you can, I don't know, ask like harder questions about the core of those feelings. And I think that's what is so enticing. I'm trying to choose my words so carefully. Enticing about Kissed is because, like, yeah, we've seen like Cannibals is something like, okay, yeah, that's intense and that's gross, but like people can walk there. Like, oh, you consume a person. I get the metaphor for love. Like, sure. Like, love is consuming. To push it like, all right, let's go 10 steps further. Now feel those feelings about necrophilia. It's so interesting. And I don't even know. Is brave the right word, or is we're too far afield then? It's bold. Bold. No, bold is definitely the word. I know I just said like 6 thoughts in there, but
no. I mean, that's the thing that I think could have both like kind of heightened this in for me for sure, is what's going on there, which I feel like maybe the male character in the romance is a little undersold, at least in his pathology, right? I think them emphasizing their pathologies could have been interesting if he was sort of just like the extreme version, if she is the extreme version of just being so idiosyncratic and so just like unattainable in this like alien sort of way that you can't like get to this person. He would be like a codependent, obsessive boyfriend or something. And I think that could have been pushed a little further. That could have like maybe swirled around in my brain a little better. That would be an interesting thing, that he is like, well, he's just so obsessive about this person that he is like just going to nod to the wildest stuff, as we can all, probably identify in our own lives at certain points, where we've said yes when maybe we shouldn't have said yes or something,
Yeah, I agree, actually, because when I was saying earlier, this feels like kind of 2 different movies to me. It was the stuff that you guys are talking about where it gets into this, grappling with this with a real human relationship is kind of where this came to life for me, because those earlier parts, I mean, I almost feel like it makes her, her predilection too simple, that it comes so simply down to her just yearning for a transcendent spiritual experience. And that's all that this is, which in practice means, like Seth was saying, a lot of glowing white light and exotic wailing on the soundtrack. A lot of that stuff goes a long way for me, because it's almost like if what she was actually doing was something a little less weird, or even way weirder, it would still
That's the
kind
thing.
of.
It works for her though. It makes the white light pop. It wouldn't for me, but
Yeah, I don't know. I think that even if it was, it's almost like it doesn't matter what she's doing, and obviously it's interesting because of that disjunction. But either way, I still wouldn't get much out of like the very new agey voiceover that goes throughout the entire movie, that I never found like particularly insightful or interesting or poetic. And besides that, I just I don't know. I didn't feel like there was anything besides this weird quirk that was drawing to me, to her as a character, or exactly what like psychological need she's actually fulfilling. And I would have maybe liked more stuff from when she was growing up, like more of that friend who seems to appear and disappear like very quickly. We get just a glimpse of her mother after she has, her first period, while she's rubbing the bird around her and stuff.
Right.
Where I feel like if I could have gotten more of an insight into her, like drawn into her just like as a character, it would make that other stuff more than just the surface level kind of interesting of like,
can-
yeah, this is weird.
I can totally see that. One of my earliest notes was in pure shock, like, wait, it's only 10 minutes of her as a child? I remembered it being at least 20, and I thought there was significantly more of her in her youngest years. So like, and same thing actually with the middle portion too. That's only like 20 minutes. And I do kind of agree I would have enjoyed more time with both those things. I do think though, there's something about her simplicity that rings true to me though. And like, I feel like there isn't a whole lot going on other than this. Like, it's almost close to that addiction drive or like people who do live wholly consumed by their fetishes. It's like, this is all I'm waiting for is the next time to blast off until I can just get back in that room and touch God. Like, I'm waiting for the holy moment every day of my life. And I need that fix again and again. Like like it's so natural to her. She doesn't even understand what's so weird about it anymore, you know? Like, I know she identifies early on like, oh, I can't tell people about this, but I don't know, there's something about her plainness that does draw me in. Like, I totally hear your complaint, and I don't think it's unreasonable. There certainly could be a lot more depth to this film, but I don't know, it rings true somehow. Maybe it's just Molly Parker's performance. Like, I think she's really captivating and excellent.
I do love Molly, and while I do have some like notes of just for the male character of this could have been built up into something that's more about how their relationship works and how, you know, you're thinking about relationships in your own life and things. I think more of him makes sense and less of her makes sense for me in this. So that actually serves me in the way that she is, again, like seemingly unattainable, seemingly just like our ability, you know, to understand why someone would do this. There's only so much you can show, there's only so much you can explain, and like a lot of it, you know, like you said, does sound like hokey new age poetry or something during like the montages, like where you have to keep reminding yourself that she's having sex with a dead guy. But I mean, it sounds like someone trying to explain why they've, you know, are gay or they're into this or that kind of. It never is super satisfactory, and neither is like the more like if we got more of her as a kid, like Freudian explanations of like, oh, because I, you know, saw my dad die, this is why something, you know, whatever. But I don't know, getting less of her makes it this even more like wondrous, sort of draws me in because it is this just unknowable area. Like I'll admit it, I don't get why the kids are out there fucking corpses. I don't get it.
That's really not woke of you, Seth.
I know. I'm not letting them onto the flag. I don't think it's gonna work.
Well, no, and I kind of agree with you because the first part of the movie is so given over to that stuff, and I didn't really start getting really interested until she meets up with the boyfriend, because their first scene is great because instead of, you know, another movie would probably, if another movie was going to try to tackle this in a somewhat similar way, they would probably have her reveal this secret like way later into their relationship. And she's been struggling between the necrophilia and the human relationship. But instead, she tells him right away, and he unexpectedly is like real fascinated. And it's a total guy reaction of like, oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, cool, bro.
Right.
And then we see him start to, you know, at times he wants to try and share in it. And then other times he's like trying to compete with them. And it was kind of funny when we talked about necromantic, and I was kind of just thinking about all the interesting things or directions that movie could have gone instead of just trying to be gross all the time. And it like you get a little brief glimpse of like, oh, what if this movie was like about a guy who's get jealous of the corpse third in his relationship, you know? And this actually does kind of run with that a little bit. I don't think perfectly. I also think Seth has a point that there seem to be like important scenes missing in between what's going on with these two that would have helped flesh him out
Totally.
more. There's kind of like big leaps from that each character makes from scene to scene from where they seem to be like coming from that made the relationship a little hard to track for me.
It definitely feels very movie like to me, you know, like
Yeah.
intentionally tropey in that way. It's like he sees her across the restaurant and he's just like zeroed in on like, I want to know what's going on with that girl. And for some reason, like you just point out, she responds. She feels it. She gives in immediately. So it is that intensity, not to invoke Phantom Thread again, but it is that weird and intense, just like I see something in you that feels different than everyone else around me, and I need to know why. I want to have every piece of you, or whatever they say. I mean,
See, like, and yeah, go ahead.
well, no, yeah, no, go ahead. Actually, I didn't have a point.
Well, I mean, to piggyback on that, I do think it for me, and maybe it's cheating, but I think it is hard not to know a little bit about this movie in some way before you go in, because you kind of got to dig for it anyways.
Right.
And knowing that it is such a no budget, undersung first effort by a director, I don't know, it kind of endears me to it in its own way. Even the flaws of it being this almost feeling like at certain points like a made for TV movie,
Totally.
or like kind of a first attempt at a indie movie like it feels rough around the edges, and I kind of appreciate that because it's such a big swing. Like ordinarily it would just be like the story of me and my boyfriend in college, and I wrote a script out of it. But this is a huge swing and so hard to like even begin to touch on some of these levels, especially like not doing it in a way that is just to shock, like doing it in a way to make it empathetic. I'm not saying it's always like it doesn't always win, but yeah, it is just like just a little engine that could. It's crazy.
And you know,
I mean,
this is a short movie, right? Like I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised when it was suddenly over. And there are times where it kind of does feel like a short film that's been extended to feature length, and possibly could have been fleshed out more.
Totally.
Almost like I wanted it to be even bolder. Like obviously this is, you know, the demure
Just the money they had.
necrophilia
Probably.
movie, which is, you know, which is already kind of the big swing, but I still could have seen it realize things a little further as far as what's going on with their relationship. You know, like I had so many questions like, oh, so why doesn't she want to like role play with him the way that he keeps trying to? Or, you know, what is she actually looking to get out of this human relationship? Because she keeps coming back to it. And towards the end, when he's about to kill himself in front of her, she's like, no, stop it. I love you. And I was like, oh, really? Like,
But
she?
didn't you hear what? Yeah, I don't think she does. He says it immediately.
That's
He
how I
goes
feel.
like, not yet. He's like, until I'm dead, you'll never truly love me. Because
And is he wrong?
I was gonna ask, that was what I was gonna ask. What do we think about the ending? Like, to me, it makes the whole movie like that's what stayed with me the most. This like big romantic gesture and like how insane it is. And when you try to process it, like if you heard it as a news story, you'd be like, what the hell are you saying to me? But then in the context of this perfectly orchestrated, very written film, it's like, damn, is there a truer love I've ever seen expressed? Maybe a little bit. Like he quite literally sacrifices himself because he knows like I will be your forever corpse then. It's like, what are we talking about? I don't think I can give like that. So, do I know what real love is? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think he's not wrong. I think that is what we see at the end. Like
Yeah,
we see no light flicker. We don't when they're having sex. You know, it's probably her trying. You know, he's like her beard or something, and he doesn't want to be her beard anymore. You're like, whatever. Like, what do I have to do? Like,
yeah.
and
Maybe
he
that would've
does it,
hit.
and it works.
Yeah, it does seem to work. Maybe it would have hit harder if this did feel like more of a love story as opposed to so much of it is him being like obsessively, annoyingly like
It's more
fixated
tragic.
on her.
Yeah, she like devours
true.
him in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I got more of
maliciously,
that from
but
her though.
Yeah.
Like,
It's true. Well, this is
I'm not sure.
like to keep circling codependent depictions. Like that is kind of it, right? Like you're swirling down the toxic drain together, and you don't even know it's happening until you're both self-destructing. But he chooses to be like a sacrifice in some way so that she can, I don't know, feel at peace internally with herself and her desires. It's but and then his is like, I'll knowing that is enough for him. Like, and if she truly believes that the body is there, the body knows, right? She says that multiple times. She's like, I think there is a different, I think they know. So he wants to take that leap with her, right? Like, I will know somehow that this is what the outcome of my sacrifice was. I feel insane as I'm saying the words. I'm like, but it feels like that's what it was trying to convey. Like this person finally accepting who they are, and that's why it's framed ultimately as a coming of age story. And I agree, ultimately, I would have rather focused on the romance even more. Like that is for sure when it comes alive. I remember watching the first 30 or so and being like, ooh, do I not like this as much as I remember? And then, yeah, it's just that last 45 is so mentally stimulating to me. Like it really gets all my gears turning of like, how do we get in these scenarios with people?
But I do agree. Yeah, the
not
the
these
romance
scenarios,
is this
but
emphasis. But the fact that we begin with such an emphasis on her and end with such an emphasis on her does kind of make it feel like, and I don't think it's necessarily by intention that, yeah, she's almost like hard not to see her as a little malevolent or a little just like, still just, I can't quite get to her because even when she describes it, she just describes it as this really metaphysical, still in this white light kind of world that I can't really fathom what happened. But to me, it still seems, at the end of the day, tragic as much as I want to like have this really romantic, like they just fucking blew up together or something.
It's totally Romeo and Juliet, right? Like on purpose, I assume they're trying to riff on that.
It just feels like if Juliet had more of a upper hand or something.
Yeah. Or Juliet wasn't that into Romeo.
Yeah.
True.
So,
and until he started stabbing himself.
But yeah, I think overall, I mean, this is something that I would have seen as like a promising debut. Maybe for me more conceptually than in execution. But a lot of that is like, first film things, like ending with, swiping the persona shot with the faces, lining up together thing. That's a very like kind of first director thing to, try out and throw out there.
I do think it works though. Like I love
maybe
that
it hadn't
last
been
shot.
Done as much by then. I don't know.
I do love it with because it's consistent with the visual language they'd been, threading throughout. But it totally right. That self-conscious. I got a reference loud. I don't know how to Tarantino it yet or whatever.
But it does have a sense of humor, like you said. My favorite part of the movie might be during the end credits where they have a section for the cadavers. And every actor who plays a cadaver has a name, which I'm going to read for everyone now because I did pull them up. We have Gurney Goner, Cancer Corpse, Tony the Torso,
Tony,
Dead Madonna. This might be my favorite. Class Carcass, Lucky Stiff, which I don't know, maybe that's the first one that she gets. Yeah. And then just Coffin, Deceased, and Long Gone. Those ones aren't as clever. But yeah, that was wow. I had to rewind to get
They're
all
like
those.
Porn performers.
I was talking to my partner during the credits and I was just giggling at the song where the whole song is like Let Love In or whatever the hell. And it's this really happy, upbeat song. Like that's what I mean. It's so true to her POV, which I do find as a commonality of films and filmmakers I'm really drawn to, people who really steep themselves in the POV of a character. And it's like that kind of influences all the decisions, I really appreciate that. a lot. And it's unfortunate. It seems like she just got into Hallmark TV movie hell. I've seen her second film with Molly Parker, Suspicious River, which is also even harder to find. And it's similar.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's
Was that the one we were
definitely,
considering
yeah,
pairing? It sounded
thought-
really intense.
It is. It's extremely similar of like tracking a woman's like circumstances to explain her sexual proclivities and how it gets her into in Suspicious River, it's more dangerous scenarios, and it definitely has a darker, meaner streak than Kiss does. And they are really interesting, like parallels and inverses to each other. I thought it was great. People seem to like Kissed on Letterboxd, at least, has like pretty solid, good reviews. And everybody clarifying, like, yes, I like the necrophilia movie. But Suspicious River seems to be kind of hated for some reason. I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah, it was interesting to see.
Checking out.
It was
I'm
interesting to
curious.
learn that she did follow it up with something maybe like as dark and violent as you would have assumed this would be. And then
Yes.
you're right. I was looking through all the other titles, and there's literally a Hallmark movie in there, and a bunch
There's
of other
like
ones
5.
that look like them. Yeah,
Yeah.
You gotta work.
You gotta work.
One of the things I read, talking about parents that I did not have. One, parents that would help fund my movie
Yeah.
in film school. No. And two, they cried, which is, yes, I would have those parents that would cry after seeing this movie, but they apparently cried for the right reasons. They like found it touching.
This
That I
is
read
how
in
we
the
met.
interview with her, which I was just like, boy, that would not be how my mom would be crying.
Yeah, I think my parents would sit me
What
down
did my
and be
little
like,
boy do?
yeah, exactly. I mean, I did see a review calling out, sorry, I don't remember who it was, being like, all the 90s indie directors who got like a million chances because they were dudes at Sundance or whatever. And like Lynne couldn't get beyond a second film. And it's like, this is
Makes
infinitely
total
more
sense.
interesting than most of those people's early movies. Like, I'm a big fan of Bottle Rocket, but if you showed me Bottle Rocket and Kissed, I'm going to be more interested in what the hell the Kissed person is going to do next, to be completely honest. I don't know why I picked Wes Anderson out of my random hat, but I did.
Yeah, around the same time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's
yeah.
a tale as old as time. As far as directors not getting opportunities like that.
Yeah.
But this, for a movie that's this obscure, I don't know if either you guys like looked at the Wikipedia page. Like, I would love to know who got a hold of that
Yeah.
Wikipedia page, because it is like the size of Citizen Kane's. It goes through every single like aspect of the development and the themes and the analysis and the aftermath and the box office on every screen. It's like, could it be the director
legit.
herself or just someone who's super obsessed with this movie? I remember when we covered Begotten, it was the same thing that has this like epic tome of a Wikipedia page. And I
sure read that.
Like the first line under the production part is, originally, director Lynne Stopkewich had no particular interest in necrophilia.
Originally, but after the movie,
Yeah,
what about
literally.
that?
She found
Oh my
her
God.
calling.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It is one of those movies where it's like, either you're going to turn it off after 5 minutes or you're going to write the Wikipedia page, which is why I feel a little like a rare bird that I am a little middling on it.
I mean, I
But
get the sense that Marc
enthusiastic.
feels that way too. Yeah.
Yeah,
both
like
feel
like
like-
usual, I'm probably a little more negative than you are, but
I knew it.
it mostly just ends up feeling really slight to me, and I feel like I'm still waiting for the necrophilia Duke of Burgundy masterpiece.
Marc, I'll do it
that's
for you.
waiting to happen, but please.
I'll take on the challenge. No, I don't know if I after this episode, I don't know if I'm allowed to make a movie. People might get concerned.
You might end up in the same director jail with Lynne Stopkewich.
Well, I do just want to know, like, how positive do you ultimately feel? Is it? Would you recommend it to anybody? Like,
we're not at an unwatch. We can go around and do our unwatch or not unwatch.
Yeah, this is not an unwatch for me. I'm definitely mixed.
Okay.
So I would say this is in the lower end of a mix if I'm going, with an overall thing. Obviously, it gave us plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
And I do admire the things that it is, even as the things that it isn't are, tend to loom a little bit. But, it goes down nice, quick and easy. Certainly it's a, interesting way to spend 75 minutes or so.
Yeah. Can never complain about a short film.
Yes, and
A
performance
shorter
is
film.
very good. I think the guy who plays the boyfriend actually is quite good too. That he
I
had
like him.
he had something
He could have
very
been a
interesting
Dawson's Creek
about
guy.
him.
I got
Yeah.
mad Dawson's Creek vibes from this.
Just like the worst hair, but it works. Just like I was like, I hate staring at this guy's head, but like it is a very
Yes.
good performance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no one watches here. Did we?
No.
Did we cover the
Nah.
ground? Are we satisfied with this?
Yeah,
Anything else
love
left
is
to say?
about craving for
Yeah.
transformation, as she says. I like that
It's-
quote.
I do
think
feel
I
like there
almost understand that.
there definitely are a lot of lines where she kind of bluntly states some of the more interesting like ideas that could linger. So perhaps a narrationless version would be even more enticing. You'd definitely make her a more impenetrable character. Now you're getting in the the red room zone or something where you're like, what is wrong with this girl?
Sure.
But yeah, I love this movie. I would certainly not unwatch it.
Now, I'm especially interested to see where each one of us lands with Amer. I keep saying Amer like it's Spanish, but this is a French film. Maybe I should not. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing anything right today.
It's the French way of saying amber.
Okay.
I honestly have no idea what is Amer even.
It means bitter, according to Wikipedia.
Oh,
So
bitter.
that's what this
Okay.
film is, and
I can feel it.
which makes it this by far the least interesting of the titles of the films made by this directing team.
Yes.
Who I'll just say their last names, Cattet and
Husband
Forzani,
and wife.
who are husband and wife
Yeah.
team, yes. And this was also their debut film from 2009, so there's some symmetry there. But they do have a few other films after this with titles like The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears and
Oh my
Let the
God.
Corpses Tan. And
Yes.
just wonderful, very giallo-like titles. And all of them are, as far as I understand, like postmodern kind of genre riffs. Not even, I mean, there's a little bit of like Tarantino in when he gets into his more kind of surreal, like stylized way, but I'd say these are closer to like full out avant-garde films.
Oh,
Wild.
100%.
Yeah, it definitely is deserving of a title more like The Strobe Lights Strobing and There's a Spider on My Head or something.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have named it. I have that note actually. That's crazy.
But
The exact same name.
Yeah.
and I don't think you necessarily need to have like knowledge of or appreciation for giallo films in order to
No.
appreciate Amer. But that does add an extra element that is very interesting.
Definitely.
And I think I'm no expert. I think I've seen most of like the major ones by Argento and Fulci and Bava. So this did feel very familiar to me. There's probably, I'm sure it goes like way deeper than that as far as that genre goes that people can inform me about later. But
Even just a brief knowledge of Argento, just like
it'll go a long way.
hot ladies in black gloves, tenebrae.
And knives and hidden figures and crazy colors. Yeah.
yeah. So first, where are we all coming from with giallo? That's something that I don't think we've covered any film that falls under that genre
They're just
heading
too
so far.
watchable.
I usually find things to enjoy in them while there's very few that I think actually hold together like as a whole. So like for me, I think I'll have the boring opinion that like Suspiria is by far the best one. That's basically where I'm coming from. And I enjoy a lot of the other ones, but there is an element of hokiness and a lack of attention to, story and characters and dialogue and that kind of thing, which very interestingly in this film, you don't have to worry about at all, which is probably why I
Yeah.
love it so much.
Yeah. Oh,
But
love.
what about you guys?
Yeah. I mean, I'm mainly a Argento person. I haven't really seen a lot of the other tours from that scene, but I mean, yeah, I love it for its kookiness and its hokiness. That's where giallo really springs forth for me, of it being this like just absurd. Inferno is a take on like a crazy haunted house movie or something. Phenomena is a girl with magic powers, but also like uncomfortable, sexy, like fantasy movie, horror movie, motorcycle movie, too much movie in it. Yeah. I don't know. I love it. I agree with you, Mark, that this is at last just taking the dog off the leash and just, we don't need the mystery, like holding it together. We don't need just like the pulpy story holding it together. It just goes full into just wacky colors and wild stuff going on.
Which I feel is
Yeah.
all that people like Argento are generally interested in anyways.
That's what I like the most.
100%.
Yeah. And I one
100%.
more shout out for Don't Torture a Duckling. That might be my other favorite. The
I love-
Fulci film. Yeah. But
Yeah, that's
where
my
are you coming
favorite
from,
Fulci.
Frank? Are you a fanatic?
No, I'm certainly not a fanatic. Over the last couple of years, I've definitely been educating myself more and more. And this time, actually rewatching Amer, I was like, oh, I get way more of the direct references now. I've actually seen things that they're directly calling to, like the third segment in Black Sabbath, the drip of water or whatever, or like the Red Queen kills 7 times. There's some references in there.
Black Sabbath. That's another one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's great. My favorite Bava.
R.I.P. Ozzy.
All right.
Man, twins.
True. Twins. And Suspiria is my favorite Argento.
Okay.
But it's not my favorite giallo. My favorite giallo actually is The Strange Color of Your Body's Tears, which is one of my like 50 favorite movies. And I think that's like the peak of the form personally. And to be fair, though, it was the first I saw of Cattet and Forzani's films. Like I saw Strange Color, was immediately overwhelmed and enwrapped in it.
I gotta see it.
I think it kind of amps up from Amer like times 100, honestly. Like the style is way more intense and even more in your face, and it's pretty one of one to me. But then because I loved it so much, I had to, go see Amer and Let the Corpses Tan. And I genuinely think they're 2 of the best working filmmakers today. Like they're 3 for 3, so strong, like stylistic vision that like, yeah, is totally indebted to giallo, like to the point of direct references constantly and using music from other films to like in a Tarantino way, as we've invoked already. But I still think it's what you were getting to. Like they're so visually oriented before anything that it still feels elevated beyond giallo. Because I agree, like if the giallo plot is just like nothing interesting is happening, it's brutal because they usually spend so much time on the plot for some reason. They're like, no,
yes.
it really matters what A to B is
It's
happening.
that guy who did it.
Yeah, and it's like 95% of the time in the third act, I'm just like smashing my head like, who cares? Like, just do something. And I think they truly circumvent that. And in an interesting way too, it's not without, I guess I don't know the difference between plot and story, because it's not without a progressive motion and a logical A to B, and it like has ideas. It's not just style for the sake of style. Like there is stuff going on in Amer, especially what I think connects it to Kissed. Like I watched them literally back to back last night because I've had a crazy week and that was the only time I could do it. And I was like, there's even more similarities than I thought. Like there's a lot of crossing ideas of like a weird, it's at the end of the day almost a coming of age movie where a woman accepts her sexual desires and ascends in some way that's like maybe destructive, and it literally ends in a morgue. So I don't know. I was
I thought you had brilliantly planned that out all along.
See?
Well, I did. So I reread my Kiss review from the other year, and I was like, the movie I think of the most is Amer, but Amer I haven't watched since like 2018, so it was kind of a distant memory in a way. So it was nice to affirm that I was right, that they are very similar.
And it is interesting that you say The Strange Color Your Body Is Tears was the first one that you saw, because Amer was the first one that I saw. And I think there are some filmmakers like maybe Guy Maddern where their style is so consistent that sometimes just the first one you see is going to be the one that is your favorite or that knocks you off, like you're out of your 100%. Socks the most. And I feel like that could be the case with these guys.
I think it's very much possible.
Even Tarantino, a lot of times tends to go back to like, the first one that got you is the only way to pick which one is your favorite.
Yeah.
A common sickness of the cinephile, I'd say. Whatever you're exposed to, young or first or whatever, it often will grip around your brain. won't let the rest in.
Now, as much as we talked about how this is set free from all that plot that does like at least seem to frustrate us about giallo, like can any of us like through the storm of images and experimentation like give me a plot synopsis?
See, the thing is, I honestly feel like I could to a relative degree. Maybe it's because I've seen Strange Color like 6 times, and I only on the 6th viewing was like, oh, I get what happens now. Like I think it's like it's way more. There's way more characters and stuff going on. In Amer, I think because it's so focused to her, and honestly, viewing it in the prism of Kissed, it's like there's a young girl and her grandfather died, and maybe her grandma, that's the only part I don't know, is like witch in mourning and keeps trying to put like spells on the dead grandpa, and this young girl's parents don't like that. And so everything is like weird and hidden in secret. So she learns that observing people through doors is how you get around in the world. And eventually she sees her parents fucking, and that breaks her brain a little bit. And then eventually she steals something from the grandpa, which causes him to maybe resurrect, or maybe it's just in her active imagination. And then she's chased by her grandma, and in the future, all these things will bud her sexuality.
That's about as good an effort as anyone could make.
A+.
And then, of course, there's the middle section where she learns that being chased by men is exciting, and then that she's overtaking her mother's place as a sexual object. And then in the 3rd act, you get her pushing the limit of that control by getting into an actual dangerous sexual scenario with a stranger. And then it all comes to a head with her shadow self. Ooh.
Very good. You passed. It wasn't just a trippy movie.
But that's, first and foremost, it goes, hey, you want to see some knives?
Yes.
You want to
see fucking
some colors?
Well, and it's important to note that this is divided into 3 very distinct separate parts that I think are pretty self-contained. Like you really could just watch any one of them just cold and it 100%. Would work. So trying to link them up, definitely we have like the same character who's in them, but it does feel like the first part is playing on the supernatural giallo movies, the Suspirias and Inferno, and the middle part is kind of like this break where they're gallivanting out. It's more like an Italian exploitation film where you have the sexy young girl who's walking around with a lollipop and this brass band song playing while the guys are
there's a bunch of bikers.
Yeah, see, for me, part 2 is where Tarantino, the Tarantino feel comes in for me, where it's like the beginning is very giallo, very psychedelic, very in another world. We don't even know what time period it is. And then the part 2 where she's like suddenly, like it's very quick, like she's just suddenly a teenage girl at this point or a little older. It feels like giallo in the real world and like brushing up against the real world in the same way that like Pulp Fiction is, pulp comic book characters. What would they be like in the real world of,
totally
like all this weird stuff? Yeah. I love that about the part 2.
And then part 3 is basically, it's the slasher, the masked guy with the leather gloves and the razor blade. So it's kind of covering all of the ground there. and you
Totally.
can link them however you want. I think that, I suppose, I guess this is a horror movie. It still seems chiefly like an experimental film to me, that someone who's
Totally.
sitting down like, man, I feel like a horror movie and put this on might like fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But
there's a reason I watched this alone.
Right. And honestly, the best reason for it even being on this podcast is because it's so unconventional in that way that it would probably scare most people off simply for that reason, that it's so much abstraction. Although there is some nasty stuff in the third part.
And basically,
some of the hardest scenes I've ever. The knife on the lips and teeth is like unbearable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
once you see it cutting in the gums, I was like, not much makes me fully turn away from a screen.
The sound of it against the teeth.
Shink, shink, shink.
Yeah,
they're very they're like, we keep talking about how crazy the visuals are, but they are just as obsessed with the sound design and the editing, and like all three are working in such crazy tandem to give you a like physical, sensational experience of watching a movie. And I don't know, I really respond to it. I think they go further than most people even come close to attempting. Like again, all these other filmmakers that are the kings of giallo, like they're still functioning in normal plot-driven conventional narrative movie going. But yeah, this is like, I want the back of your neck to tingle for 90 minutes. Like, do you
which is
hear
very
these
movie
sounds?
of it. Yeah.
And I like how they connect visual and sonic motifs through each of the three sections. Like the one that stood out the most to me on both viewings is like, in the first section, she goes under the bed of the grandpa because her parents come in the room, and for some reason, is it glass? Is it diamonds? There's like a bunch of stuff
maybe
under
salt
the bed.
even. Yeah, I don't know.
And she crunches into it, and it's like painful for her, but she has to keep quiet, and it pushes in her skin, and it keeps this like sharp crunching sound. And then in the second part, when she's approaching the bikers and she's sexually curious, which they highlight through showing off her expression in her body and whatever.
Lots of flies all over her body.
Right.
Crawling out of her belly button.
Are crunching on the gravel, and it sounds just like the glass under the bed. And then like her shoes are kind of shiny like the diamond glass salts, whatever it is. Like, and they do that throughout the whole movie. There's so many weird, like,
the mysteriously appearing water from the coming from the ceiling in the first part, and then seemingly on her from her own body, and she fills a tub without ever turning the water on.
Like,
girl water.
I love that. I love that it kind of is just that simple, isn't it? Like, it's like like in that first part, isn't that end sequence like, is that her just having a wet dream? Like, literally? Like, when it goes all psychedelic colors and she's imagining the grandparents chasing her and the water is dripping on her face. It's like, right, so that's just a wet dream. So of course there's water. It's like, it doesn't have to be deeper than that almost. And I kind of like that they keep it simple so the filmmaking can be so complex,
Yeah, like right from the prologue, basically, or what feels like the prologue to an average movie might start with this sort of more Hitchcockian, like less dialogue, more visual kind of aspect that's going on here, and you keep on waiting for like that tension to be released. And finally dialogue will come in, or some kind of traditional narrative will come in, like we'll go with background after we show the title come up, right? I kept on waiting for the title to come up, and now the normal movie will start. We've had the like, sting at the beginning kind of, but it never stops in that purely visual mode. There's hardly any words in this movie a lot of the time, just handful of them. It feels so much more about, like, rather than having a dialogue exchange, a gust of wind like flows and hits our main character, and that is like what feels like 2 minutes of us learning things about her, and also watching just like the hair on the back of her neck stand up, and just like all these people watching her and like what is this world she's in. It's such a wild, like, but still anchored in a certain reality, which I
Mhm.
enjoy. It reminded me of the novels of that I've read by Alain Rob Grier. You ever read any of those? He's the
No.
guy. He wrote the script for Last Year at
Oh,
Marienbad,
yeah.
and he was like a filmmaker in his own right, with a lot of like pretty wild movies.
I just watched Trans Europe Express. It was okay.
Yeah, I'm not as into that one. I liked some of the other ones, but yeah, he has this sort of like nothing's really going on for
Mhm.
this 3-minute segment, but everything is happening, and it's like you don't know what's wrong, but there's something wrong. It's all just pulling at these levers and getting reactions out of you without necessarily knowing what's at the center of this like swirling vortex all the time.
Yeah, like if somebody was to ask me like what this movie was about, I mean, if I was being honest, it's like about textures and atmosphere.
Mm.
And it really is almost more than any other movie I can think of. It really is just all about aesthetics, which you'd think could pose a problem. I mean, a lot of times that's a criticism that you would have of a film, or particularly a horror film. But this pushes it so far. Like it's so heightened, and it is referencing familiar genre elements in a way that anchors it. Like it feels like it's tapping into some kind of collective cinematic consciousness or unconscious
Mhm.
that we all like recognize little bits from, and it's just like melting down the core elements from something familiar into something just complete purely impressionistic, expressionistic. And really you could just take any like 5 minutes and just sit there in awe of visually, and of course like you say with the sound design, sometimes like the main character of a scene is just like the sound the teeth of a comb are making, or that
Mhm.
stretching of the leather gloves. And
Oh, yeah.
it's always leaving out important information, which at least in the first part, I do think the first part is pretty creepy, like does work pretty well as like an actual horror film. And it's
Mhm.
because it keeps leaving out all of these clarifying details, like what is the deal with this locket, and who exactly is this veiled lady who's walking around being vaguely threatening. And we never get those
Yeah.
answers. And the close-ups and everything are so extreme that in the latter part, when we are having this absolutely horrific, like disgusting cutting up of someone with a razor blade, it's not totally clear who is getting cut, who's doing the cutting,
Right.
if maybe perhaps it's the main character herself who is doing it, if there even is a third guy. Like
Right.
it
I
put
mean,
it
I think you just touched on, yeah, what is going on there. That, like, split in like a psychotic split almost happening, which is, and it increases as the film goes, like a mental state fracturing further and further.
and you just have to intuit everything.
Yeah, yeah.
To the
Uh,
point where even though like there are lots of things that connect this film to Kissed and that we could talk about perhaps thematically, but for me,
mhm.
it still will just keep going back to like it really is a surface level experience in like a profound way.
And,
Yes.
like, that's what was so fun rewatching, like, they both are, right? But then, like, they're both kinda like this surface experience, like we were saying with Kiss, but, like, one from a script writing perspective and story focus, and, yeah, the other from a purely aesthetic drive. Yeah, I love how intertwined they feel to one another. I also like that, Amer's, like, main focus at the end of the day is, like, the idea of looking or watching or perceiving, whichever version you want to put it. Like, it focuses so much on who's looking at who and when, and how those dynamics shift throughout. Like with the kid, it's when she's a kid, it's looking through door holes and trying to understand the grown-ups around her. And then it's all the bikers and understanding they are in fact looking at her in comparison to the mother. And then in the third part, it's her own desire to find someone else, like instead of everybody looking at her. And then like how naturally that leads to its visual POV and making sure we're looking and perceiving and having to make our own jumps and conclusions like the world is to her. I don't know. It's like it's like galaxy brained, but also so simple stupid, you know, like or stupid simple.
Yeah, what a
I don't know.
perfect mode
I don't
for
even know
the
the point I'm
medium.
getting
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
What a perfect,
Yeah.
because it's like about being trapped. Like I feel at a certain point, I'm like trapped in an eyeball, and I'm like being forced to like look at things, and I'm like, it's not so much that I feel like, oh, this director is like leering at this woman. It's like I'm being forced to like leer at this woman, or like and be put into the perspective of these bikers looking at her, or whatever it
Right.
is, or feel like a killer chasing her.
And I find it so interesting that they're like a married couple working together, because like all their films kind of explore similar themes of like, where do we keep our, again, like our fetishes and our desires inside of ourselves, and how do they relate to others through this like extremity of style. And like Amer is very female oriented, obviously, as our main character, but then Strange Color Your Body's Tears is very male oriented, and it's kind of more about like the male psyche. And I just find it very interesting that these two people seem to work in tandem to try to communicate these weird underlying ideas of sex and death, and how they exist inside us to whatever degree, once it like kissed.
Well, I wouldn't mind
Just
hearing
like
more
kissed.
from you about that, I guess, because I feel like I could watch this again for sure, and maybe get more of like the actual subtext. As much as part of me doesn't even want to unpack it more, but
Yeah.
I struggle a little bit with some of like the link between the two, or the like what so this fetish, it like, as much as I don't want to make it concrete, like it is that she enjoys death, she enjoys panic, she enjoys danger or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I think it's like the adrenaline of being close to death, of being chased, of being somewhere you're not supposed to be. Like those definitely seem to be the seeds they're trying to sow through the first part. And like you said, I don't think any of that's necessary to the experience, right? Like it's such an experiential movie, but I definitely think that's what they're trying to get at. And classic giallo, right? Like so many of them are about a killer who like is sexually frustrated, so they manifest in death. Like horror movies in general,
Mhm.
of course, like the
And it's why
knife
we
is the
enjoy
phallic
them.
object, right?
We are it is about a twisted enjoyment, and we are quite often like, we don't ask ourselves all that often, but it's just like, I did really enjoy that, but like, I what happened in that, a lot of it was pretty
Just
gross
people
and
getting murdered,
exercised
or
some of my like darker places, I guess.
yeah.
Well, maybe if
It's
you're a
just pulling
sicko,
that out of
Seth.
you, I guess. So
I
oh, I know.
I just
Okay,
sit.
okay.
I just sit and I tisk and I shake my head like you're supposed
Yeah.
to.
He clutches his Bible the whole
I
time.
get
Every
out
time I
my
watch
pearls
these
just to
movies.
clutch them.
Yeah. Oh, Jason, you naughty boy. Stop killing those teens. Tisk tisk.
No, it's cute. We all agree on this one. This is rare. This is rare.
Yeah, it really is. And let's I definitely want to make sure we mention the music in this movie, which I assumed was some kind of brilliant retro, of score that totally evoked Goblin and all of those other, at least in the first part of the film.
Yeah.
But the credits all seem to be saying that this is music actually from the 70s, including some stuff from Ennio Morricone.
Yeah.
Which totally makes sense.
That's definitely a part of their vibe. They love to crib music from their favorite films. Like they are just as referential as, man, we've invoked him so many times. I was not expecting that, but like one Mr. Tarantino, but like obviously their references are deeper and a little more niche than what at least our current popular culture is familiar with.
And
It's not.
I did watch Let the Corpses Tan, knowing we were going to do this, which I really liked. Also, and it's very interesting because that's more of like in a thieves and heist and a standoff and like an action movie almost, which is interesting that it actually does, like, it does have, you know, a narrative, and it's structured around this, you know, basically a standoff, like a thriller plot, which gives it some kind of momentum to, you know, take it from the beginning to the end. But it is interesting to see when they are telling a real story that can then reveal some of the shortcomings for the, you know, the style first, or, you know, style way first kind of approach to it. Like where you don't,
so?
there's, I don't know, there's an integrity to like Amer where that's not something that even comes up. And even as much as I still really liked Let the Corpses Tan, but it was still like kind of by the very end, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm not like super super invested in what happens to these people or anything. And where it seems to actually be trying to do that. And that was just a contrast that I noticed with revisiting Amer. Was like, wow, this really isn't like anything to worry about there.
Yeah, and then Strange Color Your Body's Tears is kind of the middle ground between the two, honestly. And Amer and Strange Color are definitely more in our typical giallo zone, where Let the Corpses is crime thriller, whatever. I actually prefer the other two to Amer. I don't know if that is because I'm usually so much more absorbed by narrative cinema than experimental cinema at the end of the day. I'm not sure though if that is the differences there, because I don't know. I think like, well, I think.
Sorry, I think Seth's cat just tried to actually walk away with his computer.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's enough. Shut up about Gallo, Vincent Gallo.
It was like suddenly it was like a steady cam shot, like drifting away from Seth.
I do have it on wheels.
That was awesome. Actually,
that was great.
Just for
now
the
play
YouTubers.
that 3 times fast. You know.
And they have a new film that I'm very excited to be able to see called Reflection in a Dead Diamond, which apparently is a spy film of some kind.
Yeah. Did you watch the trailer? There's a teaser. It looks amazing.
Oh no,
I'm so
I didn't
excited.
know there was one.
Yeah, there's a couple images already where I'm like, they're back, baby. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I was totally out to lunch about these people. I mean, the poster itself is so convincing of being just one of these from the 60s. That I had seen the poster a lot on Letterboxd and stuff. I was just like, oh, that's just yet another one of these that I'll get to out of this giallo thing. But I just didn't know about this. I didn't know it was this modern remix kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I definitely think they have freedom of expression and being like, giallos are so far from relevance, you know, like they're not, because at the time there's so many from the 70s because it was a hot commodity. So it was like, get more, we want more like this, you know? So they have this freedom of like pure expression that is reverential and unique. Like, I don't know, isn't there like as much in common with maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Well, I will. Isn't there just as much in common with Jean-Luc Godard as there is Argento in this film? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels beyond. I was going to say like trapping.
Brackage and Anger, like Kenneth Anger is in here. Yeah,
I totally agree. It almost feels like they're not. It's not like they're trying to actually replicate what you might enjoy from those movies, as far as like somebody could make a modern day giallo that's referential but just happens to have like a really good mystery and characters, as opposed to you know, them usually being disappointing. And that's not really what they're doing here. I feel like
this isn't legacy
is
stuff
like
or
aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, they're not necessarily, at least they don't necessarily seem like they're horror buffs. They're not getting off on the same stuff that a typical horror viewer or even filmmaker does necessarily.
And they're doing things that simply couldn't have been done back then too. Like they're just definitely,
of course,
bringing it to it.
And to speak to like, I feel like it fits in the Unwatchables too. Like there is something really confrontational about it. Like it's so assaultive in every single moment, and even more so in the 2 later films, I think. Like, and this one's already pretty assaultive. Like, I totally get how people bump against them, and I get why they're not a household name. Like, I'm never going to even pretend to say, hey, Dad, I think you should check out this movie, you know?
There's
like
nothing to hold on to in the traditional sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's there. I love it. They're so unique to me. It's a shame that more, the die in the wool cinephiles aren't parading around for them.
Kind of
But they
amazed.
definitely have some
Yeah.
champions, They're not a totally lost commodity, which is cool. I'm glad they're still getting funding for their wacky projects of
Yeah. I hope maybe we'll cover the new one when it comes out. We'll see how unwatchable it is.
Yeah,
Or maybe they'll
Everybody
just
loves a
keep getting
good
more and
couple.
more accessible until they make a huge hit.
I don't think that's possible. I also know that they're developing an animated movie, which I like.
Ooh.
That I think is
the most stressful Pixar movie of all time.
Yeah, make Bakshi blush or something. I just it's the same thing like Wes Anderson, right? Like he's to evoke him again, weirdly, he's such a pointed stylist. Like Fantastic Mr. Fox is by far my favorite because like suddenly you're unencumbered by the physical realm. Like go off, do your crazy thing. So I can only imagine with them being in a space of pure freedom of expression, like
Oh yeah.
what the hell is that gonna be? I don't know if I'm more jazzed for a movie than that, and then when that inevitably
that's
comes.
Great news.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what a nice positive note to end this podcast on. A celebration.
It's so cool that this is a unified opinion that everybody likes it. Like, that has to not have happened that many times, right?
Everybody likes this scary, stressful movie.
Yeah, it's either that or we're all united in hating the Daily Wire films that we had to watch. This is only the second most united we've ever been. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad I could have that honor.
Actually, no surprises with that one. Yeah.
No, that would have been surprising if we had to guess for that one.
Actually, I think they got a point.
This is my favorite film.
I would maybe reconsider your guest list at that point.
Yeah,
that would have been a bummer.
We have a very careful vetting process here. All right. Well, one round of no one watches for this one, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Watch it again. I would watch it tomorrow.
Oh, actually, one quick thing I wanted to ask. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Did either of you struggle with the third act at all? I feel like by the time we're kind of roaming around the house, I start to check out just like a little bit, both watches, until it's like insane knife ending. And then I'm like, oh my God. Like, yep, I'm pulse is raised again. Did either of you struggle at all? Or were you still just so enraptured? Because I've seen complaints about their movies from others that by the end you're a little exhausted almost.
I mean, that's the word I could maybe throw in there, but I just feel like that's in the nature of like, I don't know, you run 10 miles, you're going to be tired kind of thing, but it's still like, that's good. You did that. I don't know. I could tell it was beneficial and wild and great experience.
Yeah, it's hard to sustain this kind of sensation for this long, and
it's
that's
amazing
usually,
they do it for as long as they do.
Yes, so at points I was grateful for there being a lull, or else it really could have become way too exhausting. And a very common complaint I have about super aggressively stylized or experimental films is that they're just too long, or they shouldn't even be something that's feature length. And I think it helps that this is basically divided into 3 distinct units, helps kind of solve that problem. But like with anything that is like this, like I think my ideal version of this would be maybe 5, maybe even 10 minutes shorter. And most of it would come out of that last part because it is the longest.
Yeah, it is the longest.
Maybe her car ride on the way to the place seems to cover a lot of the same territory as the previous section. As wonderful as it is,
not working, and the fucking seat's too hot.
The car ride might be my favorite scene in the movie. It's so intense.
There you go. Maybe we don't want to.
It's so silly too. It's just like she's just in a car. Like, what is even happening? What's the problem?
Thrown back. Can
you imagine that's like a quarter of a page of script stretched out to like 20 minutes.
Yes.
And it is funny how actually one of the things that made me laugh the most though is because she's constantly like she's in the car and like her people's eyes are always tearing her clothes off and literally her clothes are torn off in the car. And even when she's walking to the house, like making her way through the woods, like the plant life is trying to like tear her clothes off,
trying to kill her.
Yeah, it's
like I feel like maybe this is a symptom of a little bit of the exhaustion, but I felt like I just didn't have a lot of juice for some speculation that I feel like I needed to be doing by the end of the movie, which I feel like I'm getting a little bit from you two, maybe. Like, what are your ideas about the ending? Because for me, it almost feels like, is there some sort of high tension twist going on? Is there some kind of, because I feel like, because we basically just go from some like a stabbing and then she's dead in a morgue and the movie ends and you're not sure exactly what happened.
I think it's sorry, I know, Mark, you were literally trying to wrap us up, but this is important.
No, it's
stuff.
fine. This is bonus content.
I asked.
Good. I think, your interpretations, whatever, like at the end of the day, it's like of course she had this sexual drive towards death, so the only place it can end in is death. And like it's allowed to be ambiguous. Did somebody kill her? Did she kill herself? I think there's enough visual clues to me that it seems like she killed herself and that it was all happening inside of her. And like the tension that she feels from the world is it's all in her, because all of the heightened, really horrific stuff happens with like the color gels, right? Like in the first part, it's all blue and red. And in the last part, it's all blue, or blue, red, and green. And then in the last part, it's all blue. So it like hints towards this being a different plane of reality than the rest of the film when it's not doing those crazy color gels. So to me, it all feels like it's coming from within her. And this is just like the projected view of what she's imagining almost. But
there's a precedent for dreams and fantasies in the movie.
Exactly.
Kind of blurring for sure.
So I don't think you have to interpret it that way. I think it could be very much supported to be more literal. And those color changes aren't so much plane of reality shifting as much as it's just like, and now we're in the heightened moment. Now we're in the moment. We're in the glow from Kissed.
And I'm not like
crossing over.
I'm not confused in the way that like I can understand that this is a movie that you get a lot of mileage out of. You're it's not one of those movies where it's cut and dry or whatever. It's Lynchian in some ways in that way. But I'm just curious what you guys think, I guess. Yeah.
I'm
Marc
happy.
did.
Yeah, I'm just like, whatever.
I guess that's how I feel. I'm just like, absolutely.
I was like, yeah, man, totally.
Let's go.
Gnarly.
I'm really excited for you guys to check out Strange Color. Please let me know what you think when you do.
I'm very excited. I just didn't know about these fuckers.
Yeah, that one actually, that one's really hard to find.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Damn, I bought the Blu-ray immediately. I loved it so much. I was like,
maybe
I must own this.
Every time that I say something's hard to find, I should make it clear that I'm excluding just buying it. That's most people would, I guess, probably consider that readily available.
Listen, I hardly buy stuff. I am not a collector. I'm usually traversing the high seas. But when I know I'm gonna watch a movie a bunch of times, I'll fork over the dollars and say, just give me it.
I mean, this seems like Blu-ray shit for sure. Absolutely.
I also really recommend, they have some good short films they made before Amer. Catharsis is my favorite. And it's like 3 minutes in it, basically. Yeah, it does their whole thing in 3 minutes, and it's pretty awesome. So I'd recommend that as well.
Sweet. All right, we got a whole slate of viewing homework to do here. And I will post on Letterboxd once I get through it.
I'm ready.
All right. Well, Frank, is there anything exciting you got coming up we can look for on Letterboxd or on podcasts?
No, nothing in the hopper yet. Just go to my Letterboxd. Frank Ritz on there. I'll post about anything relevant there. If I do eventually make a podcast again or make another film. It's been a while, but I've been writing, so something should come eventually.
Writing more focused script or
Yeah, writing scripts, multiple.
For a movie? Okay.
The last
Whoa.
2 shorts I was trying to write turned into 45 pages of I don't know what this is anymore. So we're going back to the drawing board again. So
Okay,
hopefully eventually.
Frank did not necessarily want us to dwell on him being a filmmaker, and we can cut this out if he wants us to.
You are a
but
filmmaker.
You
I am
can
a filmmaker.
Yeah, and you can find his short films on odysseypics.com.
At least 2 of them. The newest one, go to Letterboxd. You'll find it on my homepage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's all, it'll all be there.
All right. Well, thanks again, and everybody have wonderful dreams tonight.
Enjoy the Amer coffee, as in bitter coffee.
Kissed by Amer.
Coffee.
And now imagine all of our screens are being pulled away by our respective cats. And we fade out.
Unwatchables is produced by Tony Scarpitti, hosted by me, Marc Dottavio, and Seth Troyer, with artwork by Micah Kraus. You can find Seth and I on Letterboxd under Marc Dottavio and Sloth Troyer. You can also check us out at unwatchablespod.com for links to our Twitter and Instagram, or support us on Patreon for bonus content and to have a say in what we watch. Thanks for listening.